All right, here we are talking to George, and I want you to introduce yourself and what your company is all about.
Sure. So my name is George, like you said. I'm based in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm the founder of Wicked Trail Running. I'm also an operations officer with a digital marketing agency that my brother-in-law founded. So I'm kind of a co-owner in that too. And Wicked Trail Running is basically a company that strives to bring people away from mediocrity and complacency in various aspects of their life through the parallels that we draw from endurance sports and endurance racing, things like ultra marathons. There's a lot of parallels between life and what people go through doing events like that. So our goal and what we stand for is we want to bring people not necessarily into the world of endurance sports, but into the mindset that it takes to accomplish things like that and put themselves through things like that, because everyone in life is going to have those ups and downs, you know, getting really down on yourself and then feeling on top of the world. And, you're going to sweat, you're going to bleed. That's what life is. And again, that just parallels a lot of endurance sports. So we want to bring people into that mindset.
I love that that's what you said because we don't know each other, by the way. I just want to make that very clear. I found George on social media and I found him on Instagram. And I have to say that what you post there is scroll stopping for me. And what I mean by that is it instantly draws me in because I feel exactly what you just said. And I wanted to let you know that I hate running. So I'm
Okay.
telling you that because I am also somebody that it 1 year of my life after I had my daughter, I weighed 60 pounds more than I do now. And I took it upon myself to wake up every single day early, go in my basement and work out. And I made it happen. In 9 months, I lost the weight that was associated with my daughter. And then within 12 months, I was at this crazy, like athletic body that I'd never had because I don't consider myself an athlete. But I do believe in everything that you just said and the principles behind those ultra sports and the determination that people really need in all aspects of their life. And I think that's what really resonated with me looking at what you post and going to your site is it's like, it doesn't matter who you are. We all need this mindset in our lives. And I personally can't wait until your apparel comes out because I really want to wear your shirt because I just feel you have several shirts, but I just feel that everyone can be a Wicked Trail runner. Like they don't even
Mhm.
know, it doesn't have to be necessarily that you're doing these ultra marathons. So I absolutely love that. So I have to ask, are you a runner? Are you somebody that's a runner?
I am.
Okay.
I don't consider myself an elite runner or I do have ultras coming up this year. I have one in 1 month,
Uh-huh.
or 1 month from tomorrow, actually. Wow. um,
Wow.
and then and that's a 50-mile race. I'm also doing a marathon in 2 weeks on St. Patrick's Day, or that's less than 2 weeks now. Wow, time flies. But I'm looking to do a 100-mile, which is kind of in my mind, the pinnacle of ultras, but it's really not because there's a lot of races that are past that. But it's almost the most common furthest distance, if you will, the 100. So I want to do one of those later this year. So, but again, I don't consider myself an elite runner. I've never competed in an ultra. But I capture the mindset that it takes, and I've done other endurance events up to 12, 16 hours. Um, and I just really draw on what I learned from those experiences and how well they parallel real life and what people can learn from that.
That is so true. So
Yeah.
how long have you been running? If you're doing that many races, it sounds like you have a rigorous schedule and you've been running. This isn't like you just picked this up a couple weeks ago and
No,
you
certainly not. No, I would say I've been running, and again, I don't consider myself an elite runner or a serious runner, but probably for about 4 years. I think I ran my first 10-mile run like 4 years ago, and that was kind of a turning point. And things have come and gone since then. I had meniscus surgery at one point, so that knocked me out for about 6 months. And I enjoy weightlifting. I like to swim. So there's a lot of other things I do too, which over those 4 years have taken away from running. But now I've kind of realized how much I really desire to get into those endurance events and see, what they are and what I am within them. So I'm pretty excited to get into those.
So what was that turning point when you did that marathon? That would you say it was 10 miles? That's not really a marathon, but
No,
that
that's yeah. So I was in when was that? I was in community college, and I used to once a week I would just try to do a long run, and I 5 miles at that point was a pretty sizable distance for me. Um, and over a few weeks, I just decided that if I could do 5 miles, then I could do a little bit more than that. So one week I did 7.5, and it was painful. It was hard, but I did it. And then I realized, I had never run that far before, and I did, and I'm alive. I'm here. So how much further can I go? And again, at that time, that distance was a lot for me, just physically and mentally. But 2 weeks after that, I did 10 miles, and it was really I just realized that if you block out the noise, and I wouldn't recommend people do this, like jump up that mileage quickly like that. But if you block out the noise and you think about what you're doing and why you're doing it, it's actually not that hard to do things like that, to push your body further than you think you can.
Well, and on a smaller scale, when you think about, I mean, you were already in shape. It's not like you started running from, you were 100 pounds overweight or something.
No, no,
But I
definitely.
do love what you say, because I think there's a little bit of a culture out there that's like, make sure that you don't push yourself and that you don't
Right.
exert too hard. And that's great when, in my opinion, when it comes to not burning yourself out, not doing too much the first week that you start exercising. Because I think a lot of people
Exactly.
bite off way more than they can chew. To your point, let me run 10 miles when I have not ever run that.
Right.
But to your point, maybe it's an additional rep in the gym. Maybe it's 5 more minutes on the treadmill. Maybe it's 15 more minutes walking your neighborhood. I mean, it's a slow progression, but I agree. I think that we can all do just a little bit more, and that comfort is, a lot of people get in that comfort zone and they're like, well, I do exercise, but you can push yourself a little bit more. And I have to
Hmm.
say that's again what I like about what you put out there, because that's exactly what you're saying. It's like, let's move past this comfort level. Now, were you like ex-military or anything? Because I feel like there's a certain level of like, I was an operations manager and managed planning for supply chain for 15 years. And supply chain tends to draw Marines and lots of
Mhm.
ex-military in. So I've actually worked with a lot of ex-military, and that's why I felt like you're so disciplined. It just seems very military or militaristic. I'm not military at all either, but it
Yeah.
just felt like that to me. So it's not, you're not military at all.
I'm not. I have family. My sister is, and my brother-in-law. He served as well. Grandpa's my aunt, cousin. So a lot of military in the family. I'm a huge supporter, but I have not myself served.
Okay, well that actually makes sense now, because I definitely feel that like flavor, that you have that in your
Hmm.
life, maybe not directly, but I
Yeah.
definitely I definitely see. So I really like what you say about who Wicked Trail Running, or that brand is for. It's really for everyone. Who is
It
your
is.
who do you see when you see somebody wearing that shirt? Describe to me a person walking down the street wearing a Wicked Trail Runner shirt.
At first glance, I would picture kind of who we talk about on a regular basis, which is a lot of times endurance athletes, rugged runners, people that go above and beyond on a regular basis to
Mhm.
why whatever reason they do it for, whether it's physical or just mental or just goals that they set on a huge scale. But it's really everyone that we always relate that back to, which um, it's everyone, anyone who realizes that when they set a goal for themselves, they're at point A, and that goal is at point B, and everything in between is just it is what it is, and you have to do it. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter how tired you are, how beaten down you are. They understand that they're going to go to point B, and it's and nothing in between matters really. The mountains, the routes, the trails, all those things. It doesn't matter. So anyone who, you said you were overweight and you lost that weight. That's a perfect example of it. You knew that there was a point B and you were going to get there, and everything in between, none of that actually mattered. It was all about getting to that point. So at first glance, again, it's the endurance athlete, but we always relate it back to anyone can do these things and anyone can run a wicked trail. Everyone has a wicked trail in their life. Um, but it's about understanding that you have to go down that. It's not an option. Taking the easier way is setting you up for failure in the future.
I actually love that you said the middle and that point A and point B, because what I feel like you do is you celebrate that messy middle. You celebrate,
Mhm.
this sucks. I mean, this is not fun, but here's how we're going to get through it. And I
Right.
definitely feel like when I read what you write and the things that you put on social media, I don't feel like you're preaching or talking at me. I feel like you're linking arms with me and saying,
Mhm.
you've got this. I've been there. We've all been there. It sucks.
Right.
It sucks when you're in the middle of that trail and you just want to quit, and maybe your knees are bloody and your ankle hurts or whatever, and you just keep going. And so I feel like I resonate with that, because I feel like, especially these days in social media, and pick your platform. It really doesn't matter which one. You can look at LinkedIn, you can look at Facebook, you can look at Instagram, you can look at Twitter. It's all about the success stories. It's all about these people standing next to fancy cars and talking about how they made all this money. And we as a society are not doing a good job of talking about that messy middle. And I
No.
that you're celebrating it and you're talking about it. And for a lot of us, I mean, I feel like when I read some of your stuff, then I'm like, oh, because I can feel it. Like I literally know that feeling of not wanting to continue, but doing it anyway.
Right.
And I just feel like, to your point, it resonates. Endurance athletes live this, but the rest of us are almost afraid to talk about it. Like it's almost
Right.
a shame, like a shameful thing to say, like, this is hard and I'm in the middle of it. You're supposed to celebrate it and be like, oh, that was so great. And no, there are so many days that really aren't great, but you push through
Right.
and do it anyway. So I absolutely
Yeah.
love that.
And it's just, and kind of like you said, on social media and things like that, society and culture has really watered down what certain words mean. And it's kind of my goal to take things like that, to take either controversial phrases or phrases that make people think, and spin those in a way that gets back to what they actually mean.
Yes, I love that.
So things like one of our big core phrases, and this was the first one that was kind of one of the big sparks for the whole brand, was motivation is not real. Everyone takes the word motivation and uses it to encourage themselves to do things, and that's fine. But
Hmm.
I always like to say motivation doesn't exist at mile 60 or mile 70. When you're deep in the weeds, or you've got broken ankles, and those are just parallels for other things that could happen in your life, not necessarily on an endurance run. You don't have motivation. There's not going to be motivation to keep you pushing, so you have to find something else. Relying on motivation and celebrating it like that, I think is pretty dangerous.
I completely agree with you. And I don't know if you do this, but I tend to do this actually in anything in my life where I need to push a little bit harder. I gamify it. And I read a book recently where they talked about this. And it was fascinating because it talked about this guy who was this actually very similar to what you're talking about, wicked trail running. He was climbing mountains and all sorts of things, and he was with a friend, and he broke several bones in his body. I can't remember exactly which ones they were, but he told his friend, like, you have to keep going because I don't want both of us to die, so you need to go. And his friend was like, I'll go find help, and he's like, you're never going to make it back to me on time. So this guy actually said to himself, he's sitting in snow, by the way, and he made this game. in 15 minutes, can I make it to that rock over there? And so he was pulling himself to the rock. And then when he made it there, he's like, in 10 minutes, can I make it here? And this guy in 2 days made it back to the camp. He didn't even know where he was. He was delirious. But he said the only thing that kept him going was gamifying it. And to your point, it had nothing to do with some motivational quote. It was, can I be better than I was? Can I be better than I think I am? You know, can I make it there in 15 minutes? And if he didn't, he was like, okay, the next round, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes. And it just kept him going, that small little messy middle self. Sure. And then the guy had surgery. He's fine. He's totally fine. And I don't know about you, but I might have died out there. I don't know how I would have handled that situation. So it's pretty amazing that this guy survived. But I feel like that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's funny you had mentioned that. I have a story very similar to that, and someone who's been a huge influence to me and kind of sparked a lot of this in me is Marcus Luttrell, the lone survivor, who was on in 2004, the movie Lone Survivor. It's a book as well. Okay. But in 2005, he was on a reconnaissance mission in Afghanistan. He's a Navy SEAL with 3 other SEALs. All 3 of them were killed. He had been blown into a ditch by some sort of explosion. He had a broken back. He had like 7 through and through bullet wounds. He bit his tongue off. His nose was broken, and he did something extremely similar to that. And I saw him talk, and he talked about this. I don't think it's in the book, but for 9 hours, he just drew a line in front of his face, and then all he would do is try to move his feet past that line. And he did that for 9 hours until he was rescued, and then the rest of the story. But so yeah, very similar. There's a lot you can do when you think you can't do more.
It's so true. It's so true. And again, back to what we were saying before, for those people that are, they feel like they can't relate to the ultra runner because I'm sitting here, I'm a mom of 2, a mom who works crazy hours, maybe they're single parents, and it just seems impossible. Just do just a little bit more. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. I lost 60 pounds, 30 minutes a day for 9 months,
Right.
And I was able to keep it off because what I got was what we haven't talked about, but I would love to talk about more, is momentum. Because what happens when you start doing those things, and you talked about it at the beginning, you ran 10 miles and you were like, I think I can do a little bit more. And you just talked about, you're going to run a marathon, you're going to run an ultra marathon, all these things that the guy that you used to be, the George, 4 years ago, would have been like, no, we're not doing that. We can't do that. But it's because you got the power of momentum. And clearly that worked for you. And it definitely worked for me. And it got me into this lifelong passion of wanting to better myself, whether that be through reading or coursework or helping other people or my daily exercise routine that personally has saved my life.
Sure.
Something I haven't talked about, but I do want to mention it because I feel like it's a good spot, is I have scoliosis. And I have been told that by the age of 60, probably 60, 62, that I will have to get my spine completely fused from my neck to my tailbone, meaning I will not be able to bend. I will not be able to do anything. And I've told this to several people, and they say to themselves, wow, I would just take that and just be so sad. And I would, just go into this pit of, man, this sucks, and do whatever I want and just let exercise go to the wayside. And I say to myself a couple things. One is, well, I'm not that age, so I don't know if that's really going to happen. That's a prognosis, but it's not a death sentence like I'm on death row or something.
Right.
What if I do everything possible until that day to ensure that surgery doesn't happen? So if that day comes, at least I can sit there on that operating table and say, I did everything I could. And for me, I work out in my basement because I have 2 kids and it's hard for me to leave. So I work out first thing in the morning. And every single day before I start working out, I sit on my basement floor and I say, not me, not today. And I thank whatever you believe in for letting me move and letting me do anything physical, because what a gift I have. Do you have anything like that in your life? Because I know you said that you had injured yourself and you were out for 6 months. What got you from that injury to where you are now, really?
I had always had a good relationship with fitness. I always knew that it was important. And again, I was never elite in any sense of the word, but I enjoyed lifting weights. I enjoyed calisthenics. I liked running. I liked swimming. Um, and I just knew that those were important and that I had to get back into it after that. So that was really, it was just the importance that I placed on physical health. And I think that's something that people water down nowadays. It's, anything is considered healthy now. Um, and I think that that's not a good way to go about it. I think people should be encouraged to get outside their comfort zone and not remain in an unhealthy state. I don't think it's good to celebrate unhealthy living, whether that's telling people they're great when they're probably not, or in a physical sense, or just encouraging people in ways that aren't actually going to push them in the right direction. So really, it was just my relationship with fitness, and I knew that it was important to me. And then from there, I just kept improving and kept learning and realized that there was a huge kind of lack of that drive in other people. And I knew how important it was to me and figured I should try to spread that a little bit.
I don't know if you've read The Four Tendencies. It's by Gretchen Rubin. It's an amazing book.
No.
Anyway. You should read it. And the reason is because the four tendencies, I'll just give you a little rundown, are everyone in the world is one of these four. We all are some of all of them, but we have one thing that really drives us. And they are upholder, questioner, obliger, and rebel. And everything that you have said, you scream upholder to me. And I know this because I'm an upholder and I'm self-disciplined. I'm very much the type of person that when I decide to do something, it's going to happen. And I don't need you or anyone else to keep me accountable. It's just something I'm going to do. And it's all about me. So that is the typical upholder. The problem is the majority of the world are obligers. And obligers are the people that need that group. They need that running group. They need that exercise class. They need the accountability. And they are actually ruled by outside thinking. So what I love about what Wicked Trail Running can do for people like that is I feel like, by the way, this is common, that upholders typically hold obligers and obligers can coast on upholder behavior. And I feel like looking at your website from an obliger standpoint, I'm not an obliger, but pretending like I am, you're giving me that boost. You're giving me that motivation that I truly need so that I can coast off of your what you put out there and how you talk to yourself. So the other ones are questioner and rebel. And those are interesting in their own way because to me, I think somebody who's a wicked trail runner and would probably be a rebel in a lot of cases because there's somebody who's like, you don't think I can do this? Watch me.
Right.
I'm not going to do a normal event. I'm going to do an ultra event. And that to me is 100% rebel behavior of, I'm just going to take it to the nth degree. I'm going to show you. And questioners are more like, well, why would you do that? Why would you be a part of that? Why would you do that? And so going from all of those different tendencies, how would you convince a questioner that wicked trail running is for them? This will be interesting.
So somebody that questions, just to understand, somebody that questions why these things are done, what the necessity of them is rather than staying in comfort, kind of?
Yes.
Okay. So if somebody asked, why would somebody run an ultra marathon? They could say something like it damages your body, which running a lot of those, I'm sure it does. It's a waste of time. It costs money. You're signing up for pain and it's a waste of a day. You're running 50 miles. There's no point to that. I would say to them, I would ask them, when is the last time that you really struggled with something? And then when I say, well, I had a family member pass away last year, or I had to have surgery a year ago, and I would say, so life dealt you these things, you didn't sign up for them, and they would say, yeah, of course. Um, when life deals you something like that, there's different ways that you can respond. You can respond in a positive way that is going to bring yourself and other people something good from that, whether that's joy or changing something about yourself that needs to be changed. If it was a surgery, I'm going to bring something good out of this. I'm going to start to live a healthy lifestyle. Um, the reason that you should put yourself in very, very uncomfortable situations is so that when those things happen, when life, deals you blows that you don't know how to deal with, you've been there before. And doing ultra endurance events and any type of physical training, really, if you're exercising every day for a year, you could call that an ultra marathon. You're doing something for an extended period of time with a goal in mind. um, you're going to have extreme highs and extreme lows during events like that. I know the endurance events that I've done that have been about 12 hours. I mean, the lows are low. It's cold. You're wet and tired. It's miserable. And if you expose yourself to things like that, it calluses your mind, and you're able to look at small things from a perspective that they don't matter. Stubbing your toe or other just small things that are extremely unimportant. If you make a bad investment and lose a couple dollars, if you stub your toe, if your washing machine breaks and you have family coming over and there's a pile of clothes that you have to wash and things like that, they don't matter. None of that matters. It's so unimportant. And getting frustrated by things like that, um, it completely goes away when you expose yourself to extreme events and extreme duress. So I would say putting yourself in extremely uncomfortable situations, such as an ultramarathon, it really destroys negativity in your life. Um, you're not going to complain about those small things if you've done something this hard. And then when those big things come, when you have to have surgery or when someone dies that you love, it you can resort back to the emotional fatigue and the emotional failure you felt during those events, and you can draw on that strength and be strong for other people.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And so now I have to ask, why t-shirts? What's the deal with the t-shirts?
Yeah. I So my brother-in-law and we do digital marketing for small fitness businesses, and I had always kind of wanted to get into apparel, because I think it's easy to sell online if you do it right.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see, but um, and I knew that if I found a niche, being ultra running, and I had a good idea or a good drive behind it, and that would be the name, the brand, what we stand for now. I knew that I could sell shirts easily, but it's developed so far past that from just t-shirts. I really like t-shirts. I think it's a way to get into people's homes and kind of create a conversation about something. I want people to wear these shirts, in their gyms and on their runs and in their communities. So when somebody sees a shirt that says "Go farther so you can go further," what is that going to make other people think? Well, they're going to ask, first of all, what's the difference between farther and further? It's the same thing. Well, it's not. So I want to create conversations around these topics by kind of putting t-shirts into communities where things like this matter.
I love that. I love that. And I plan on wearing mine, and I cannot wait for you to launch. Now, you said, when is the date? When can people buy shirts from you?
This month, assuming all the systems are in place and we're good to go, it should be, we're looking at, and I don't want to make any promises, but maybe the 19th. But again, we have to make sure systems are in place and ready to go.
Got it. So I have another question
Yeah.
for you. You and I talked about this. This is one of our
Sure.
original conversations. Because I have scoliosis, I can't stand a fitted shirt. I am planning on buying a men's medium from you because I hate really fitted clothes. How are these shirts going to fit? Are they going to be super, like the women's shirts typically are like skin tight, and if that's your thing, good for you. I just, that's not for me. How are the shirts going to fit?
So the shirts, first of all, they're not actually shirts. You can definitely run in them, but they're going to be cotton polyester blend. So they're not going to be like specifically exercise shirts. You can exercise in them, but it's going to be like a normal t-shirt. It's going to get sweaty. Um, and they're going to be, in terms of men, I would say a little bit on the smaller side. They're a little bit more fitted, but certainly not tight. Um, yeah, it's gonna be just a kind of a comfortable, looser shirt, but on certain men, if you tend toward a large, definitely get a large, or if you sometimes wear mediums, stick with the large. Yeah, they're gonna be a little bit more snug on some guys.
Okay. And now are you just going to do t-shirts, or I know that's your initial launch, but I didn't know if you were ever going to do other things like, for instance, I love a sweatband. I'm a little obsessed with sweatbands. I look ridiculous in them. I don't care. There's no shame in my game. Would you ever put out a Wicked Trail Running sweatband?
That would be kind of cool. Yeah, I think so. Again, like t-shirts, we want to get into people's homes and into their communities and start conversations around these phrases that we so strongly believe in.
Right.
Um, I think we do want to do some smaller accessories, and we want to just like send these out with t-shirts. We're not going to do it on this first one, but we do just want to kind of give some value that way. Sweatbands would be cool. I hadn't thought of that. I wrote it down here, so I'll kind of run it by my partner. That would be really cool. We want to do so outside of like accessories and apparel. We want to get into kind of things that people can practice. So providing, I don't want to say literature, but and I don't want to say coaching programs, somewhere in between that. So like ebooks or something, just something that people can reference and find very applicable practices that they can use to develop a mindset like this. Because I do believe that anyone can callous their mind, as I said, and just kind of become a wicked trail runner. And whether that's in the weight room or in a business or in relationships, anyone can develop that mindset. So I do want to provide some sort of material for people to reference for things like that. And eventually, one of our big goals is, sorry, my dog's down here. You hear him rustling around.
No worries.
But eventually, one of our big goals is related to younger people. So like 13 to 18, somewhere around there. And providing, pardon me?
Oh, I just said, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, so we want to, and this is kind of away from the apparel and things like that, but we want to provide an environment or a role model or a brand image that they can relate to and that they can draw on and start to develop these kind of these habits and these thinking practices early on. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be really cool eventually to have things like youth camps, but again, I don't like that verbiage. Something like that where young people can come to and they can learn about these things and they can learn why they're important and they can practice them and they can practice physical strength and physical endurance. So that's one of our kind of long-term goals is to really provide a place for young people to start to develop some of these things.
I love that because you just made me think of something when I was in high school, probably when I was in middle school too. I'll probably be showing my age here. But I remember a brand that was very popular with guys, but I feel like your brand isn't really a guy or a girl. It's really unisex. Anybody can get behind it. But one of the brands that was popular when I was growing up was No Fear. And I personally hated that brand because I felt like it was so unrelatable. I mean, I was in middle school and high school, which is like one of the toughest times where, no, I have a lot of fear and I don't know anything about myself. And I personally believe that fear is a good thing when it's utilized correctly and we sort of dance with it. So that just never resonated with me. Whereas I feel like what you're saying and what you're doing is not just going to be for guys. And it's not going to be so, you're not telling people don't, quit. you're saying, here are the steps, and here's how we're going to do it
Right.
together. And here's how we're going to be the Wicked Trail Runner as a team, which I love. So I'm really
Right.
excited about that. I can't wait to see whatever you come up with there, because what an amazing generation to teach those skills to, because
Yeah.
it really does apply to everything else in your life. You're later on in life, when you get married, when you go to college, when you want to finish a master's degree, when you work, because work is definitely an uphill battle, and then
Yeah.
stay physically fit your entire life. That's not just something that you, oh, I did that when I was 18 and I'm going to stop now. So I love that. I think that's an excellent idea to get in the mindset of those, I say kids, but you know,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
impressionable people. And like you said,
Right.
camp or whatever, like whatever you call it, I think it's going to be a
Right.
movement. And I recently I'm doing an article this week on my friends, and each of them, they're women, and each of them, they're successful in their own way. And I called it On Her Own Terms. But something that I was looking up was, I was trying to say, like, who are these people? And I'm so sick of the word tribe. Like, I just, I
Yeah.
feel like it's overused. And then squad is sort of the same way, because we're not a cheerleading squad.
Right.
The squad is not for me. And so I looked up in the thesaurus, because that's where I live. And one of the words that I feel like fit, and for some reason I feel like I need to give you this word, it was force. Because I feel like
Force.
that's what you would be doing. You would be creating a force. It would be a movement
Sure.
and a
Yeah.
force. So
I like that.
I so there you go. Enjoy that word.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think that what you're doing is so amazing. And reading your blog, I want people to go on there. It's wickedtrailrunning, all one word.com. And one of the posts, actually two of the posts that really resonated with me, were the role of fatigue in the mission and
Mhm.
regret. So I feel
Yeah.
like we talked a lot about these, but wow, you're such a motivational speaker. Like, on social media, I'm almost afraid to comment on your stuff, because I'm going to look like spam, because all I want to do are the emoji hands that are like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
or
please do. Please
the
do.
fist bump where I'm like, yeah, because I want to do like 1,000 of those. I'm like, yes, I so feel what you're
Yeah.
saying and I hear it. And when you posted those two things, I was like, oh my gosh, I was on top of the world. And I feel like when I
Yeah.
lull in my day, I'm just going to go to your website and get pumped up, because that's what it does for me. Um, and I know that's really your mission, is to help people do that. And I'm just, I cannot wait for your shirts to launch, because I
Hmm.
want to wear them. And sorry, I'll be wearing them mainly to the grocery store, but
I know. Me too. I can't wait for them to get here.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Those blogs, they're kind of. Go ahead.
no, no, no. I wanted you to go on, so go ahead.
Okay. Um, yeah, those blogs. I really enjoy writing. I want to write a book. I don't really know what that looks like or how to go about that yet. But those blogs, they're kind of just. I don't plan those so much. I don't really run them by anyone. I just kind of I pick a topic, or I'll text my partner or my brother-in-law or my sister and just kind of poke their brains and how do you define this, or what do you think about this? And from that I kind of get topics, or I think about things that I have struggled with in the past, or um, things that I hear on a daily basis. So the article about regret, I was sitting with a couple friends, and one of them had talked about they regretted that they missed getting these concert tickets, and the other one said, "Oh, I would regret that too." And I thought, would I regret that? And I thought, oh, not really. I don't. Again, I don't see that as a big deal.
Hmm.
Um, but I thought about, what else would I regret? And I started to look ahead rather than back. So I think regret is, people look at it as hindsight, but if they turned that around and looked at it as, how can I live today and tomorrow and this week and this year so that I won't have regret? So rather than living with the fear of regret, live with a fear for regret. Look forward to what's coming and drive toward opportunity so that you don't miss those things and you don't have regret. So I think it just boils down to every day. And you spoke about this on a video you posted this past weekend about every day you're building something. Every day you're building something, and every day there's an opportunity to build something and to go somewhere and to do something toward your goal. And if you're not looking for those opportunities, you're definitely going to miss them. So you have to look for things and look for them so that you don't regret missing them. It's kind of a weird, I haven't even completely wrapped my head around it yet, but
Mhm.
I think that regret is just people frame it the wrong way. It needs to be more of a forward thinking word rather than hindsight. So that's
I
kind of where that came.
I couldn't agree more with you. And I also, I was talking to one of my clients. I'm a life coach last week, and they are taking on a new role, and they're very timid about this role because of exactly what you're saying. They are living in regret. And what I feel like you can do with that is there's nothing you can do about that particular situation, right? It's done. But I like to
Right,
liken it to driving a car. You need your review mirror to know what's behind you, but you can't drive a car only looking in your review mirror. You have to
right,
look forward while taking in the information that's past you. And so what I told this person was, look there, use it as a tool, but don't live there. And
right,
I feel like regret is one of those things that I love what you're saying about looking forward and saying, what would I regret not doing that I haven't even had the
right,
chance to do yet? I mean, that's such a
right.
cool way of looking at things. And I feel like people need to embrace that more because there's a ton of fear out there about,
Yeah,
oh, I think people tend to go down the rabbit hole of all the things that are going to go wrong versus
right.
all the things that could go right, and
Yeah,
how this path that you think is going to fail is actually such an amazing place and exactly where you're supposed to be. So
right. And there's
move
so much
away.
opportunity down the rabbit hole.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. I love that. I love that. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. I think that you're somebody that we should all watch because I can tell you're passionate about not only ultra marathons, but your brand, you embody it. And what you do is really every day. I love it. I mean, it energizes me every single day. So I hope it energizes more people. And
Yeah.
I'm going to post, when I post this on my blog, I'm going to post all of your information so that people can find you on all the various social medias, because you're definitely somebody to watch. And if you're having a bad day, go to this guy's site. You're going to just feel amazing about yourself, or you might just get up off the couch and say, let me go for that run, or let me
Yeah.
do the thing that I don't want to do because I'm sitting in comfort and I need to move into
Right.
more energized mindset.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. It's all a decision. You just have to. And I'm getting ready, or I guess the blog post I did yesterday kind of touched on this, but I'm getting ready to put out something a little bit longer, just about how and like you said, you're building something every day. When you make, it's all comes down to decisions, just compounding decisions to lead toward your goal. So like you said, if what we write, myself and Alex, if what we write inspires someone to, get off the couch one time, that's one decision they made. And that might lead to a decision 5 minutes later to run a little bit further. And that might lead to a decision later to, skip the pop or the soda. And that might lead. So it's all about just compounding decisions. And if we can ignite one decision in somebody to do something the right way, then hopefully they can continue that and we can see some progress.
I love that. I love that. I love that so much. Um, Something I wanted to end with was on social media, there's so much negativity. And I don't even want to say social media, I just think in the world today, there is so much negativity. People are focusing on differences mainly, how you don't believe what I believe, whatever that may be. It doesn't matter. You're different than me, so therefore I hate you. I
Yeah,
don't I don't relate to that because I just feel like you're different than me, and that's going to make me better, and that's
right.
going to make me and you better, because I personally believe we are all put on this earth to help one another. And if not, I don't think that we would be living the way we are and built the way we are. I do believe we're supposed to be a part of a community. it is so wonderful to see someone else with that same mission, wanting to unite and help other people. Um, so thank you for the positivity you put out in the world. You're never
Yeah.
preachy. You're never, I don't feel like you ever talk about political, religious, blah, 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 whatever it is. You don't focus on that. You just talk about every man and every woman
Yeah.
and how they can become better. And it doesn't matter race, creed, gender, none of that matters. Come as you are. Everyone is a Wicked Trail Runner. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for the
Absolutely.
positivity. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, positive in the right direction. Yeah, that's what we're striving to just bring people toward a common understanding that the watered down mediocrity and complacency and all those things of today, that shouldn't be the norm.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, I'm going to end the recording. Thank you so much, George.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.